Hey, it's John Siskovich, and I wanted to share with you my 2015 apple orchard budget. We're going into the third year that this orchard is in existence, so it's in those awkward growing years. It's not producing any apples yet, but still requires some maintenance. Let's dive into the details. So here's a bird's eye view of my farm provided by Google Maps. So to orient you, this is a snapshot of the middle of my farm. Over on the left is my property line on the west. Over on the right is my property line to the east. We have a wild strip that I'm maintaining to encourage wildlife and natural pollinators and stuff in the middle. I have chickens running on chicken mobiles with electric netting over here. And this rectangle right here is my apple orchard. There's also chickens running in that for pest control and manure, and chickens are great to put in just about anywhere. So there's 350 trees. There's 18 different varieties. Planted them about 2.5 years ago. We're going into their third year of growth, and it's just a little bit of maintenance, mowing, managing, and making sure that the trees stay healthy and grow up the way they should. Let's go to the spreadsheet and look at some of those details. So this one's pretty simple. Aside from labor, which is a whole other area, we're at about a net loss of close to $800. It'll probably be around $1,000 if I had to guess at some of the things that I'm missing here. But my major expenses, if we go down to materials, is neem oil, BT, fish, seaweed, lime, fuel, all amendments or organic approved pest control, or things like limb trainers that'll help us train and prune the apple tree branches. At this point in life, the trees are small. They're only, about as tall as I am, and they just need to grow. They need to spend some time growing, and I do what I can to help assist that and make sure that the trees are healthy and they're not being slammed by pests and the million other things nature can throw at them. But in general, it's a not very intensive part of having apple trees. When they start to produce, I'll have to worry a lot more because then I have fruit that I need to have look good. So the management will get a little more intensive as we get into fruiting. But for now, relatively straightforward, relatively simple. I'm learning a lot about having apple trees still, how to properly prune and train them, how not to just screw up this entire investment of a long term of having apple trees. And that's part of the farm here, is that a number of operations we have are slow to grow and are an investment over time. And you have to plan in that work. Even though they're not going to make any money, you can see expected yields in pound is zero. There's still labor and there's still materials. Some of the labor stuff that we have to take into account is winter pruning, so trimming the trees and sculpting them, mulching the trees around the base. I'm not entirely sure what I want to do around that yet, but something for mulching the trees. Spraying them with whether it's fish or seaweed or neem or whatever amendment or pesticide or something. We're doing our best to manage it organically, and so far have stuck to that. But it's been easy because we don't have fruit yet, and I may not know everything there is to know about growing apple trees. So who knows? So time for branch training and then mowing. There's two schools of thought when it comes to mowing. There's this school of thought that let the grass go wild and it creates habitat for beneficials. And then there's the keep everything clean because then you're creating habitat for bad animals. I go somewhere in the middle where I manage the areas in between the rows of apple trees as pasture and let it grow up to a certain extent, run chickens through it, and then come behind and mow it and clean it all up. And if we start to run into problems with the trees, I'll mow it a little tighter just to try to manage that habitat some. It's a whole, even though it's a little bit more straightforward and not as labor intensive now, there's still this whole ecosystem that surrounds orchards that's pretty fascinating, and trying to balance the keeping it clean and trying to control nature and then later letting nature do its thing is a balance that a little bit different for everybody. Other than that, we have fence maintenance because we have a fence up that, occasionally falls down or stuff grows up through it. So maintaining that fence, because right now it's a tough plastic mesh. It's not as durable as a permanent metal fencing, and it takes a little time to maintain. And then liming, just amending the soil. So I usually factor out my labor at $12 an hour. It's a nice round number for what we're doing here on farm. It could be different no matter, depending on who you are, what your situation is. We factor in labor in a complete different part of the budget. So when I do my budget for trees, I'm mostly concentrating on the materials that I'm going to need, that the oils and sprays and fuel for the tractor to do mowing, to give me that net of a loss of $793. So even though it's a net loss for this year, eventually they will be producing and making money, and it's an important part of the farm's narrative because we work with a distillery, and those apples are going to be used for hard apple cider, for apple brandies, bourbons. So it's a really important thing to have on farm. Plus, it's going to be awesome to have a pretty good size orchard here. So that's pretty much it. Really straightforward budget. Very simple with the numbers. I just started running down things I knew I would need, and we're going to update and make better our record keeping in 2015. If you're an experienced orchardist, apple grower, and you have any notes on this and say, oh, you definitely forgot this or you forgot that, leave a note in the comment section below. I would love to hear your feedback. And for anybody else who's checking this, having that sharing of information the way I'm doing it here helps us all grow. If people are looking for a snapshot of, you plant the trees and that's very exciting. What does it look like year 3? Well, this is it for us on Camps Road Farm. So that's it for now. Hope you enjoy the video. Go to farmmarketingsolutions.com for more information for this video and for all the rest of my budget.